Hello there, my fellow Mouseketeers. My name's Steph, and welcome to my channel where we talk about all things Disney. Hey guys, my name is Steph, and I'm so happy to have you here on my brand new Disney-themed YouTube channel. Alright, so on this channel, I'm just going to be talking about all things Disney, whether it's reviews, ranking movies, talking about my favorite characters, or just going down the Disney history line. You know, we're just going to talk about all things that this magical company has to offer. And in all honesty, I could not find a better first video topic than to give my personal review on the first real major landmark for the Disney company. And that is the classic animated short, Steamboat Willie. And before I get started on my review, I just wanted to say that these are my own personal opinions. So it is okay if you disagree with what I say. All I ask is that you please be respectful to my opinions, and I will be respectful to yours. And feel free to leave your thoughts down in the comments about how you feel about Steamboat Willie. And maybe we'll be able to do like a friendly discussion, because all we're doing here is trying to have fun talking about the thing we love. Alright, thank you, and let's get started on my review about Steamboat Willie. The Walt Disney Company has been creating beloved stories and characters for the last century. And as we all know, the Disney Company is easily a very recognizable staple in the entertainment world, ranging from the various theme parks across the globe, various cruise lines, ice skating shows, different snacks, or honestly any other merchandise you may be using on a daily basis. Think about it. If you name it, Disney has probably already made a product for it. And as you probably can guess, Disney didn't become a billion-dollar company overnight. And, just like every other successful company out there, Disney really had to start somewhere, right? And I do believe Walt Disney said it best when he said it all started with a mouse. Imagine, it's November 18th, 1928. The biggest turning point in all animation history is about to take place in theaters across America. You sit in your seat and you look up at a title screen that reads the name, a Mickey Mouse sound cartoon, Steamboat Willie by Walt Disney and Ub Iwerks. And your life is never going to be the same. Steamboat Willie is the landmark 1928 American black and white animated short film directed by Walt Disney and Ub Iwerks. This animated short is famously recognized as the debut of Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse, and one of the first cartoons to feature fully synchronized sound. Also, please keep in mind that though Steamboat Willie is given the credit of being Mickey and Minnie's first animated debut, they were featured in 2 other animated shorts prior to this short film. Steamboat Willie was just the more popular of the short films because it had the synchronized sound. Steamboat Willie starts out with the very famous scene of Mickey Mouse driving the steamboat, wearing his cute little hat, and we hear the very famous whistle that I'm sure you have heard multiple times. And, we see Mickey's having a great time. He's blowing the whistle. He's pretending that he's the captain of the steamboat. And, he's just really enjoying himself. Well, that's until Captain Pete comes along and ruins all the fun. So, being the big meanie that old Captain Pete is, he grabs Mickey and throws him down the bridge and makes Mickey get back to his usual deckhand duties. So, we see Mickey completing some of his duties, most notably whenever he loads the cow onto the boat. Soon, we see a very frantic Minnie Mouse trying to catch the steamboat only to barely miss it. But luckily, Mickey sees her just in time and helps her on board. Mickey and Minnie begin to have a musical jubilee by using the various animals as musical instruments, and they end up having a lot of fun while doing so. And just like before, mean old Captain Pete comes and ruins the fun. And he ends up making Mickey peel potatoes for the rest of the adventure. So, we all know Mickey Mouse as the great lovable character who's always kind, always loyal to his best buddies, who always tries to do the right thing, and he's just all around, he is the main mouse you want to be your best friend. And one thing that I really learned during my revisit to Steamboat Willie is you could really see a big major character development that Mickey Mouse really has had over the last century. Because honestly, in Steamboat Willie, Mickey really, there was some moments that he didn't really seem like the nice mouse that we all know and love today. Honestly, there was some times that Mickey was actually looking like a jerk. And a pretty big one at that. The scene that I'm referring to is whenever Mickey and Minnie were playing the music, but they were using the animals as the musical instruments instead. And honestly, you can really tell by the facial expressions that these animals in this cartoon did not want to be the musical instruments at all. I know I never really paid much attention to that detail, but whenever I did my rewatch and trying to look closely at everything, the facial expressions kind of was actually really surprising. I mean, not only did some of these animals look fairly annoyed that they was being used as instruments, but honestly, some of them looked like they were in actual pain, especially those little piglets. In today's world, we know that any form of animal cruelty is very highly frowned upon, and for good reason, because that is just a terrible issue to talk about, and it should not happen. But for my personal opinion, I don't really believe whenever this cartoon was released back in 1928, I do not feel like that was Walt Disney and Ub Iwerk's intention at all to make it seem like these animals were being hurt in any way. Because something that we got to keep in mind as viewers that consume this media, when this was released, it was a completely different world. A lot of major events in history has passed since 1928. And the humor in 1928 was just completely different than what we have now. Things that we find offensive today, back then, they wouldn't even bat an eye at it. And, and it's kind of vice versa. Some of the things that they may have been offended by back then, in our society today, we wouldn't even pay no mind to. But on the other hand, it is good to revisit classical media such as Steamboat Willie, because it does really help us to see how much we have progressed as a society. And, we have learned from past mistakes, and it is up to us to keep moving forward so we don't make the same mistakes again. Because, we only have one life on this beautiful earth. And, there's already not enough time to enjoy it as it is. We don't need to waste that time just focusing on things that may have been done in an animated cartoon almost 100 years ago. Steamboat Willie, I feel like, is appropriately rated as a classic. I mean, honestly, without Steamboat Willie, would we even have a Disney company today? I mean, there's a good chance we might not, or definitely not in the way that we have it now. And, it's always nice to just see, comparing animation from the 1920s versus now. It's just just to really see how far animation has came, like in a century, is just mind-boggling. And, you know, that's not even beginning to even mention all the differences in sounds. It's crazy, but just fantastic at the same time. And, you know, and revisiting these old classic Mickey Mouse cartoons, it really gives you a sense of like a nostalgic feeling. And it's always, you know, as a Disney fan, it's always cool to see where this company, you know, like how it really started and everything, and just see how far it really has come. And it's just, you know, it's just magical. But anyway, you know, I've always been a fan of like the classic Mickey Mouse cartoons, the classic Mickey Mouse shorts, whatever you prefer to call them by. And I absolutely adore the classic Mickey style. It's one of my favorite styles out there. And, you know, I was just so very happy to revisit Steamboat Willie. And, you know, and overall, yeah, I know some of my views may change from time to time when I do rewatch it. But, you know, overall, I still always have a great time with it. And honestly, I would really recommend that every Disney fan go back and rewatch Steamboat Willie, because it really is a true part of Disney history. And yeah, I really hope y'all just take the time to really look at Steamboat Willie for the classic gem it is. And just enjoy that little piece of Disney history. I guess for my final rating of Steamboat Willie, I would give it a 7 out of 10. Because was this my all-time favorite Disney project? I mean, well, absolutely not, you know. But in the end, I was entertained, and, you know, and I felt satisfied after I watched it. And, you know, and that's all I ask whenever I view any Disney media. As long as I'm enjoying it, you know, that's a win for me. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe, and make sure to hit that little bell icon to be notified for the next magical adventure. All right, thank you, and I hope you have a very magical day. Bye!
See you real soon!